You've been looking in all the wrong places, haven't you? Searching your bank account, checking your email for a miracle, counting the coins, watching the clock, praying for payday. But what if I told you that you are already rich? That the supply you seek is not out there, but right here, right now, flowing in the invisible, just waiting for you to see it. Most people spend their lives chasing money like it's running away from them, when in truth, abundance stands right beside them, unnoticed, untouched, unclaimed. I am here to tell you something that will shake your world, gently awaking. Stop chasing money. Stop chasing opportunity. Stop chasing anything at all. For what is divinely yours will never pass you by. That is not just a hope, it is a law. And the name of this law is the invisible supply. Yes, the invisible supply is your birthright, and no one can block what has been divinely assigned to you. Your supply doesn't come from your job, your degree, or your boss. Your supply comes from divine source. God, the infinite mind, the great unseen substance, and it's already prepared for you. It is here, in this moment, right now. But can you see it? Can you believe it? The invisible supply is like the air you breathe. You don't earn it, you simply receive it. There's no need to beg for it, hustle for it, or stress over it. It is as near to you as your own heartbeat. But to access it, you must believe it exists. Belief is the key that unlocks the invisible storehouse. You say, but Florence, how can I trust what I can't see? And I say to you, the most powerful things in this world are invisible. You cannot see love, yet you feel it. You cannot see thought, yet it moves mountains. You cannot see your blessings unless you open the eyes of faith. And faith is not blind. It is precise. It sees what the physical eyes overlook. So I ask you now, what invisible abundance are you ignoring? What talents within you are lying dormant? What doors have already been opened, but you've refused to walk through them because you were waiting for a sign in the form of money, when God had already given you a sign in the form of peace? This is your loop, and it's a sacred one. Every time you come back to the question of, do I have enough? I want you to remember this: you do. You always have. But your mind must align with this truth. Your supply is mental and spiritual before it ever becomes material. Your wealth lives in your consciousness. That idea you had yesterday, that was a seed. That person who came to mind out of nowhere, that was guidance. That tiny spark that said, try again, that was supply knocking on the door of your awareness. The invisible world is not far away. It is simply one thought shift away. So loop back with me now. Again and again. I am already rich. I am already supported. I am already guided. When you think these thoughts, you tap into the vibration where all good flows. You see, the supply is already created. All you are doing is aligning with it. That is the divine economy. It is never in crisis. It never runs out. It is not moved by inflation, recession, or political policy. It is governed by spiritual law, and spiritual law never fails. And what is spiritual law? It is the idea that every soul has a divine right to be supported, to be sustained, and to be fulfilled. Not just barely getting by, but richly sustained, abundantly supported, and deeply fulfilled. Do you believe that? Truly? Or are you still waiting for proof? I tell you, the proof comes after the belief, not before. And belief comes from repetition. That is why I am here. To loop these truths so deeply into your mind that you no longer question them. You don't chase the sun, do you? You simply rise with it. And in the same way, you don't chase supply. You align with it. Now let me take you to the connection point. That moment when the bills are stacked and the fridge is empty and your faith feels thin. This is not your breaking point, dear soul. This is your meeting point with the divine. It's where you discover a truth greater than circumstance. It's where you hear the still voice whisper, I am your source. Not the check, not the job, not the loan. I am your source. And once you know this, you will never again fear lack, because you've touched the well that never runs dry. The well of divine supply, the well that lives within you. You are not here to chase shadows. You are here to command light, to declare what is already yours. And when you do, the invisible becomes visible. Now for the secondary hook, and I want you to really feel this in your spiriting. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe is already yours. Say it with me, I don't attract what I want, I attract what I believe is already mine. So if you believe abundance is far away, it stays far away. But the moment you say, I live in a field of favor, I am surrounded by invisible wealth, my supply is immediate, constant, and divine, then all heaven aligns to confirm that belief. Synchronicities appear, people call, doors open, the path clears, not because you forced it, but because you flowed with it. And flowing is the opposite of forcing. You were never meant to strive, you were meant to receive. And to receive, you must believe. And to believe, you must decide. Decide now. I live in the invisible supply. I am rich, even if I can't yet see it. I am guided, even when I don't yet understand it. I am supported, even when I feel unsure. Because what is mine by divine right will find its way to me. Effortlessly. I don't beg for what's mine. I align with it. So here's your call to action. Not a task, but a transformation. Today I want you to act as if your supply is already here. Walk like someone who is supported. Speak like someone who trusts. Think like someone who knows the universe is working in her favor. Declare this with me: I no longer chase. I attract. What belongs to me will come, not because I demand it, but because I am aligned with it. I no longer stress. I rest. My good is not in the distance. It is in this moment. And from this moment on, I open my heart, my mind, and my life to the invisible supply that is already mine. You're not waiting for a miracle. You are walking in one. The only thing that's been missing is your awareness of it. But now you see. Now you know. And once you know, you cannot go back. The invisible becomes visible the moment you believe. You are already rich. You just didn't see it. But now you do. What you see is only a fraction. What you feel is the full truth. So if you feel lack, you call in lack. If you feel fear, you invite delays. But when you feel abundance, deeply, sincerely, when you sit in silence and know you are supplied beyond measure, then the invisible becomes visible. The supply was never missing. It was waiting for your recognition. You cannot attract what you deny. You cannot magnetize what you fear. So the secret isn't in chasing, it's in realizing you are the magnet. You are the field. The moment you shift your vision, opportunities appear. Ideas come. People show up. Doors open. But it all begins with inner sight. With the choice to saying I already have. Not just say it with words, but feel it in the bones. Feel it in the breath. Walk as if your needs are handled. Speak as if your future is secure. That is how you activate the law. The law of invisible supply is not magic. It is divine order. It is the natural outflow of belief aligned with spiritual truth. If you believe you must earn everything, the law allows it. But if you believe you are already supplied, that you are not separate from source, then life begins to mirror that truth. You are not a beggar, you are a creator, and the creator works through you. That's the connection point. That's where the outer begins to respond to the inner. Every desire you've had, pure, true, sincere, already has a form in the invisible. The moment you align your belief with that truth, the form begins to manifest. But not in chaos, not in fear, in order, divine order. So be patient, but be active. Speak life, speak truth. Don't just say, I am rich, say, I am connected to the source of all riches. Don't just say, it'll be okay, say, I am held in the hands of divine protection. Words are containers of power. Use them wisely. Every declaration you make carves a new path for invisible supply to flow. The problem isn't supply. The problem is interruption. Doubt interrupts. Fear disturbs. But faith restores. That's why you return. Again and again, to the truth. That is your loop. Not because you forgot, but because every day the world tries to make you forget. That's why affirmations matter. Not because they are magic, but because they rewire you to truth. So speak even when you're unsure. Declare even when you feel fear, because your words have weight. They anchor you in the unseen. And when you are anchored, you cannot be tossed. You cannot be shaken. Yes, storms may come, but you will stand. Not because of willpower, but because of spiritual alignment. Invisible supply doesn't bow to storms, it flows through them. So while others panic, you remain calm. While others strive, you receive. While others grasp, you allow. And in this calm, in this trust, everything you need is drawn to you like a magnet. The invisible recognizes because you have become one with it. You are no longer separate from your good. You are merged, unified. This is not fantasy. This is law. The law responds to belief. Belief becomes vibration. Vibration becomes magnetism. And magnetism pulls into your life everything that matches your truth. So today, ask yourself, what do I believe I'm worthy of? What do I believe is possible for me? What story am I still carrying from the past? Because whatever you carry becomes your container. And your container must be expanded if you are to receive more. You cannot pour divine abundance into a mind full of limitation. So release it. Let go of the ideas that say, I'm not enough. I've failed too much. It's too late. These are illusions. They are lies dressed up as logic. But spiritual law does not respond to logic. It responds to truth. And the truth is there are no limits, only learning. There are no failures, only realignment. There is no too late, only divine timing. Every breath you take is proof that life is not done with you. Supply is still flowing. The river is still moving. But are you open to receive it? Are your hands unclenched? Is your heart clear of resentment? Because what you withhold from others, you block from yourself. Forgiveness clears the channel. Gratitude expands the channel. Faith opens the channel wide. So if you want more, give more. Not money, but trust. Not effort, but surrender. And in that surrender, your supply flows freely. You are not poor. You are not broken. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be, in the middle of a miracle you can't yet see. But keep going, keep trusting, keep returning to the invisible, because what's invisible today becomes visible tomorrow when you walk by faith and not by fear. That is the law. That is the truth. And that, dear soul, is your divine inheritance. Every single thing you've ever prayed for, longed for, or dreamed of already exists in the invisible. It's not a question of creation. It's a question of revelation. What you think you're waiting on is actually waiting on you. Waiting on you to align. Waiting on you to believe. Waiting on you to declare with clarity, I am ready now. And the moment you do, the current begins to move faster. But it will not rush you. Divine timing is perfect. It's not driven by fear or lack. It waits for your readiness. That's why so many people say they want abundance, but continue to think in scarcity. They say they believe, but their words and habits reveal doubt. You must be fully congruent. What you say, think, feel, and act upon must all agree. That's what aligns you with the invisible. That's what opens the flow. And remember, this is a law, not a wish, a hope, not a maybe, a law. Just as gravity does not ask your permission, the law of invisible supply does not need your approval. It simply waits for your participation. It waits for your harmony. Once harmony is established, nothing can stop the flow, not the economy, not your history, not other people's opinions. The invisible supply doesn't care how long you've struggled. It only responds to your current vibration. Right now. This moment. That's your point of power. That's your moment of shift. So if you're listening now, if you're tuning in, then let this moment be your alignment. Say, I now align with the invisible supply. I now claim what is already mine. I now let go of the belief that I have to earn what I already am. The invisible supply is not impressed by hustle. It responds to stillness. It flows through peace. That is why, in your quietest moments, not your noisiest, the breakthroughs happen. That's when you feel the nudge. That's when the idea drops in. That's when the inspiration comes. Because when the mind is silent, the spirit speaks. When the heart is open, the flow returns. You do not need to beg for your good. You need to expect it. You need to welcome it. You need to know it is yours by divine right. Every single thing that belongs to you in spirit already exists. And once you become the vibrational match to that truth, it begins to take form. It moves from the invisible into the visible. That's the miracle. And yet, it's not really a miracle. It's a law.
Repeatable.
Divine. So do not despair if you don't see it yet. That's the loop. That's the test. To hold the knowing even in the absence of evidence. To stand in faith when logic tells you to fall back into fear. You must understand. The universe rearranges itself to match your internal state. When you rise in faith, circumstances rise to meet you. When you walk as if supply surrounds you, it begins to appear everywhere. Not always in the way you expected, but always in the way that serves your highest good. Because the divine does not give randomly, it gives wisely, it gives perfectly, it gives in alignment with your purpose. So even when it looks like a detour, even when it feels like a delay, trust it. Trust it with everything. That's your power. That's your posture. That's your proof. Faith is the bridge between invisible and visible. And when you walk it, you do not walk alone. You walk with divine order by your side. Now let's deepen the loop. Repeat after Meg. I do not need to see it to believe it. I believe it, and then I see it. That is the truth. That is the pattern. That is the sacred rhythm of creation. Spirit first, form second. Always. So stop looking at your bank account to measure your worth. Stop counting the numbers and missing the truth. You are wealthy now. Not because of the amount in your hand, but because of the amount in your heart. You are rich in favor, rich in ideas, rich in divine support. And when you own that, fully own it, everything begins to change. You speak differently. You carry yourself with quiet power. You stop rushing. You stop proving. You start receiving. Because receiving is the highest demonstration of faith. It says, I know it's mine. It says, I trust what I cannot see. It says, I am safe in the hands of the divine. That's the level of knowing that activates everything. So let's build on that knowing. Let's stretch the container. The invisible supply does not run out. You cannot drain it. You cannot exhaust it. It is infinite, because it flows from the infinite. You are not one of many begging for a small piece. You are an individual expression of the whole. And the whole supports its own. The vine supports the branch. The ocean supports the wave. The infinite supports you. There is no separation, no distance, only alignment, only willingness, only readiness. And readiness is not perfection. Readiness is surrender. Surrender to the truth that you are already provided for. You do not chase abundance, you host it. You welcome it. You prepare a place for it in your mind and in your speech. You make room for it in your imagination. And then it comes. Because what you make room for finds you. What you believe is possible becomes probable. What you honor expands. So take a moment now and ask, have I made room for abundance in my life? Or have I been too busy making room for fear, for stress, for control? Have I built a sanctuary for miracles? Or have I filled my temple with doubt? Because abundance will not dwell in a house built on fear. It will not bloom in soil poisoned with anxiety. You must prepare the ground. And you do this through belief, through gratitude, through imagination, through trust. That's how you water the seed of invisible supply. That's how you feed the harvest, not with worry, but with wonder, not with panic, but with praise. You speak to the unseen as if it already stands before you. And when you do, it does. Because the unseen is waiting for your recognition. It's waiting for your invitation. This is your invitation, open wide. Speak boldly, affirm daily, and when fear knocks, answer with faith. When doubt whispers, shout truth. When scarcity circles, anchor yourself in spiritual reality. There is no lack in God. There is no shortage in source. There is only circulation. So step into the flow. Let it carry you. Let it lift you. Let it surprise you. You don't have to know how. You only have to know who. The infinite that created you has already made a way. Now your job is to walk it. With joy, with trust, and with the full expectation that all you need is already on the way. Invisible supply isn't about pretending. It's about perceiving. It's about recognizing what's already true in the invisible realm and standing on it as if it were seen. You cannot be rich in spirit and poor in reality, not for long, because the spirit always expresses itself. So if your spiritual bank account is full, your physical one must catch up. There is no other outcome. The divine does not withhold. You do, through fear, disbelief, or attachment to appearances. But today, release it. Let go of the lie that says you're stuck. You are not stuck. You are in transition. You are not broken. You are expanding. You are not poor. You are being prepared. And preparation often looks like stillness, looks like delay, but it's divine timing at work. A delay is not a denial. It's a setup for something greater, something unseen, something invisible. Until now, when you open your inner eyes, you begin to spot supply in strange places, in a smile, in an idea, in a word spoken by a stranger, in the quiet nudge of intuition. That's where the gold is. That's where the abundance hides. Not in banks, not in paychecks, but in your vibration, in your vision, in your expectation. The invisible supply responds to what you expect, not what you fear, not what you guess, what you truly expect with confidence. If you expect delays, delays will come. If you expect bills, more will arrive. But if you expect provision, if you expect help, if you expect miracles, then invisible supply will arrange itself around that vibration. That's how faith works. It's not empty hope. It's structure. It's blueprint. It's the invisible mold through which the divine pours your visible reality. Now here is the loop. Every time you forget that you're already rich, life reflects that forgetfulness. But every time you return to the knowing, the pure, unshakable knowing, that God is your source and supply, life reflects that knowing too. So what do you choose to reflect today? Choose to reflect provision. Choose to reflect peace. Choose to reflect plenty. Say it aloud. I reflect the abundance of the infinite. I reflect the generosity of the universe. I reflect the rhythm of divine wealth. And as you affirm it, you align with it. You draw it closer. You become a mirror to the unseen. And what you mirror, you manifest. What you magnify, you materialize. This is your connection point. The place where your consciousness touches the invisible. The place where the formless takes shape. You don't have to work harder to get there. You only have to go deeper, deeper into silence, deeper into truth, deeper into surrender. That's where supply speaks. Not in the shouting of worry, but in the stillness of faith. Not in the storm, but in the whisper. And if you're still long enough, if you're quiet long enough, you'll hear it. That whisper that says it's already done. That whisper that says you are safe. You are seen. You are supplied. And the whisper becomes louder as your fear becomes smaller. The whisper becomes your anthem. The anthem becomes your walk. And your walk becomes your witness. The evidence to others that the invisible is real. That the law works. That abundance is not a reward. It is a reality. A constant, flowing, infinite truth waiting to be seen, spoken, and received. So don't measure your worth by today's circumstances. Measure it by eternal truth. Don't measure your potential by what's missing. Measure it by what's promised. And what's promised is this: all that is yours by divine right is now moving toward you, on time, intact, in perfect order. Not because you forced it, not because you chased it, but because you believed it, and because belief opens the floodgates. Now let's return to the secondary hook. You are not waiting on abundance. Abundance is waiting on you to notice it, to trust it, to act as if it were already here. Because it is, just not in the form you imagined. Maybe it's coming through someone new. Maybe it's rising in your creativity. Maybe it's whispering through rest. The invisible supply shows up wherever there is space for it. And space is created through release. So release the tension, release the struggle, release the timing, and rest. Rest in the knowing that the law never fails. God never forgets. And the supply that built the stars is the same supply that now builds your life. This is not theory. It is practice. Not a message, a method. Every day you practice the knowing. Every day you live as if you already received. Every day you walk in the energy of abundance. Not because of what you see, but because of what you believe. That is your power. That is your proof. That is the only evidence you need in your inner conviction. Now say it again. I am already rich. I walk with invisible supply. I trust what I cannot see. I align with the source of all, and it flows to me freely, fully, and forever. So if you want more, start being more. Not doing more, not forcing more, but being more aligned, more grateful, more faithful, more centered. The invisible supply answers energy, not effort. It responds to your belief, not your business. You are already rich. Because the source that feeds the stars is the same source that flows through you. There is no shortage in the universe. There is only circulation. What you send out returns. What you honor expands. What you appreciate multiplies. So today, speak like someone who knows the truth. Walk like someone who trusts the law. Sit in silence until heart remembers, I am supplied. I am supported. Not later, now, not someday, today. Because if the supply is invisible, that means it's spiritual. And if it's spiritual, it's already yours. The world may tell you to hustle, to push, to grab, to grasp. But I tell you, relax. Open your hands. Let go of the chase. And let in the current. You were never meant to fight for survival. You were made to flow in abundance. That is your design. That is your birthright. That is the invisible truth. Now, let's stretch the vibration. Let's amplify the belief. Let's expand your capacity to receive. Because that's all supply ever needed. Space. Space in your mind, space in your heart, space in your story. You must stop telling the old story of scarcity. You must retire the identity of the struggler. You must say goodbye to the language of lack. Because every time you repeat that narrative, you reinforce it. And you deserve more than that. You deserve to be free from the patterns that keep you broken, and believing in limits that don't belong to you. Say, I now release the story of lack. I choose a new script. I walk a new path. I embrace a new supply, and that supply is infinite. That supply is flowing. That supply is mine. Not someday, but now. The invisible responds to your clarity. It mirrors your courage. It multiplies your yes. So what are you saying yes to? Are you saying yes to fear? Yes to playing small? Or are you finally saying yes to your divine inheritance? Because every yes is a seed, and every seed becomes a tree, and every tree gives fruit in its season. Do not dig up your seed with doubt. Do not speak death over what you planted in faith. The invisible needs your protection. Your belief is the fence that shields your harvest. Your faith is the sun. Your gratitude is the rain. Your consistency is the soil. So treat your belief like a garden. Tend to it daily. Pull the weeds of negativity. Water it with affirmations. And watch. Just watch. How the invisible breaks through into sight. So if you want more, you must become more. Not in the way the world defines it, but in the way spirit unfolds it. More still. More receptive. More faithful. More aware. The invisible supply is not responding to your struggle. It is responding to your spirit. It's not effort that activates it. It's alignment, and you align not by chasing, but by believing. The supply doesn't need to be earned, it needs to be realized. It's not hiding, it's waiting, and it's waiting for you to open the eyes of your inner vision and say with certainty, I am already supplied. I am already rich. I already have what I need. But let's be honest. Most people don't feel that way. They wake up every day and their first thought is of what's missing, what they lack, what they haven't achieved, what they're afraid won't come in time. They move through life like spiritual beggars, asking for scraps when they were born with keys to the palace. The invisible supply doesn't answer begging. It doesn't answer fear. It doesn't answer panic. It answers faith. Quiet, calm, certain faith. You must choose to speak from your inheritance, not your insecurity, from your trust, not your trauma. And that choice is not made once. It is made every morning, every moment, every thought. Each time you choose the voice of truth over the voice of worry, you grow the space that allows the supply to pour in. Now here's the loop, and it's an important one. If you believe the supply is far away, it stays far away. If you believe you must earn it, it makes you earn it. But if you believe it's already here, right here, flowing around you like the air you breathe, then it begins to take shape. Not because it's suddenly there, but because you finally see it. And what do you see? You begin to see divine opportunity where you once saw lack. You begin to notice how nature lacks nothing, how the sun rises without effort, how the rain falls without struggle, how the birds find food each morning without anxiety. And you begin to remember, deeply remember, that you are not separate from this rhythm. You were created in that same divine image, with that same divine breath, for that same divine flow. But let me remind you, the world will try to convince you otherwise. The world will shout, work harder, move faster, don't rest, you'll fall behind. But what is behind? Behind what? Behind whom? If you are walking your divine path, in divine timing, following divine supply, then there is no behind. There is only now, and now is the point of power. Now is where the invisible becomes visible. Now is where the truth becomes form. So breathe into the now. Say with Meg, I am not in lack, I am in alignment, I am not running out, I am rising up, I am not forgotten, I am filled. Speak it until your cells remember. Speak it until your bones believe. Speak it until fear melts like frost in the morning sun. Because every time you affirm your truth, you silence a lie. And every lie silenced makes more space for truth to speak, for supply to flow. Now listen carefully, this is the connection point. The supply is not a destination. It is not something you reach or achieve. It is something you realize. That means it's always been here. It's always been yours. But you were looking with physical eyes for something only spiritual eyes could see. The supply was never outside of you. It was within, and now you return to it, not with force, but with faith, not with striving, but with surrender. That surrender is not giving up. It is giving over your control, giving over your timelines, giving over your fear of not having enough. You say, I surrender my will to the divine pattern of my life. I surrender my fear to the flow of infinite supply. I surrender my doubts to the wisdom of spirit. And as you release, you receive. That's the secret most people miss. It's the release that makes room for the receiving. Imagine trying to grasp water with clenched fists. You cannot hold abundance with tight hands. You must open. You must trust. You must let go of the grip of fear and float in the river of faith. That is where your good is. That is where your peace is. That is where your provision waits. And when you float, really float, you stop fighting the current. You stop swimming upstream. You stop exhausting yourself trying to control things never meant to be controlled. And in that space, the miracles happen. Ideas come, resources flow, people arrive, opportunities unfold. But it never came from force. It came from faith. Quiet, certain, knowing faith. Let me give you a spiritual truth that will never fail. What you appreciate expands. What you resist persists. So if you keep resisting your current reality, fighting it, resenting it, hating it, you only feed it. But if you begin to bless it, to thank it, to accept it as temporary, as a step in the divine unfolding, then it begins to shift. Why? Because you shifted. So today, bless your bills. Yes, bless them. They mean someone trusted you enough to give you something before you paid for it. Bless your bank account, no matter the number. It means you are still in motion. Bless your delays. They are divine. Bless your waiting. It is not wasted. Bless your doubt. It reminds you to choose truth. Bless every single thing, for it is either your supply or the lesson that leads you to it. Say this with me now. I bless my path. I bless my pace. I bless the supply that is already mine. Say it again. Say it every day. Say it until you believe it, because belief is the container, and the universe never pours into an unready vessel. And now we circle back to the loop, back to the beginning, because all great truths spiral. They deepen each time you return. So here's the truth again, you are already rich. You just don't see it yet. But now you do, a little clearer, a little deeper, a little stronger. And each time you come back, that vision sharpens. Each time you choose faith, the invisible becomes visible. Each time you rest in the truth rests in you. This is the law of invisible supply. The law that says, as within, so without. The law that says, you are not here to beg. You are here to remember. The law that says, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And you, dear soul, are abundance in form. You are peace in motion. You are supply in human expression. Own it, walk in it, declare it, be it. And when the doubt creeps in, because it will, return to this loop. Return to this truth. Return to the voice within you that is never shaken. The voice that says, I am not alone. I am not forgotten. I am not without. That voice is the voice of Source. That voice is your supply. Listen to it more than you listen to the news. Listen to it more than you listen to fear. Let it lead. Let this be your new rhythm. Believe, receive, give thanks, repeat. Believe, receive, give thanks, repeat. Let it become so natural that the world wonders how you are so peaceful when everything else is shaking. And you will smile and you will say, I don't chase supply. I remember it. I don't beg for provision. I align with it. I don't panic over timing. I trust the rhythm. That trust is wealth. That peace is prosperity. That surrender is success. Not in the eyes of the world, perhaps, but in the eyes of truth. The only eyes that matter. So take a breath, and another, and say once more, I am already rich. I am already held. I am already supplied. And nothing can block what is divinely mine. Now walk in that knowing, and the invisible will become undeniable. And now that you know, you cannot unknow. Now that you've seen the invisible, you cannot unsee it. Every moment from this point forward is a quiet invitation to return to truth or drift back into illusion. And that choice will define the flow of your life. Will you walk by appearances? Or will you walk by inner knowing? Will you be driven by fear? Or led by faith? Every single day, you are casting votes with your attention. What you focus on grows. What you water blooms. What you bless multiplies. And this is where the deeper work begins. Not in the outer hustle, but in the inner garden. The place where you tend your thoughts, your words, your expectations. Because these are the seeds of your supply. These are the invisible blueprints that the universe uses to construct your visible experience. So, let me ask Yug, what are you planting today? What are you feeding with your focus? Are you feeding fear or feeding faith? Are you watering worry or watering wisdom? Because the harvest does not lie. You reap what you believe, you what you expect. You reap what you speak. Say it now, gently but with conviction. I expect supply. I expect peace. I expect provision. Not from arrogance. Not from demand. But from alignment. From harmony with the law that governs all life. The law that says you are not separate from the source but one with it. Not someday, now. Not maybe. Always. And when doubt comes knocking, and it will, you do not have to entertain it. You do not have to sit in conversation with fear. Instead, you return. Return to the knowing. Return to the loop. Return to the awareness that the invisible supply has never stopped flowing. The only thing that ever blocks it is your belief that it's not there. But that belief is not truth. It's a fog, a mist. And you, dear soul, were born to rise above the mist. Look around you. Really look. Nature does not worry. The trees are not anxious. The oceans are not fearful. The stars do not compete. They shine, each in their place, each in their timing, each in quiet confidence. And you were made in the same image. You were created to shine, not strive, to radiate, not chase, to receive, not panic. But the world has tried to teach you otherwise. It told you that your worth is in your productivity, that your value is in your performance, that your provision must be earned with blood, sweat, and tears. But spiritual law says something very different. It says, you are worthy because you exist. You are provided for because you are aligned. You are supplied because you believe. That's the connection point. That's the anchor. That's the truth that keeps you grounded when circumstances swirl around you. Because there will be moments when the bank account is low, when the job is uncertain, when the bills arrive and the mind wants to spiral. But it is in those moments that the law proves itself. If you can choose faith there, if you can declare, I am still supplied, before you see the evidence, then you have activated the deepest level of spiritual power. Remember this, it's easy to believe when the evidence is visible. But spiritual mastery is believing before the evidence appears. That is how the invisible becomes visible. That is how the promise becomes the provision. That is how the faith becomes the form. Let your words be your tool. Let your affirmations be your anchor. Say it again now. Even now, I am supported. Even now, I am supplied. Even now, I am in divine timing. Speak it until the vibration of it begins to move through you. Speak it until the old fears lose their grip. Speak it until your inner climate shifts from storm to stillness. Because stillness is where the voice of spirit speaks loudest, and that voice is always gentle, always loving, always certain. It doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it knows. And it wants you to know too. It wants you to live from that knowing. To walk through life not as someone lost in search of supply, but as someone rooted in spiritual wealth. Wealth that cannot be stolen. Wealth that cannot crash. Wealth that flows from a deeper well. The well within. Say this now and feel its truth. I walk in unseen wealth. I speak from spiritual riches. I rest in divine supply. Feel the shift as you say it. Let it wash through your nervous system. Let it settle into your cells. This is not hype. This is not delusion. This is law. And law never fails. What you align with must be revealed. What you claim with belief must take form. So today, let go of the pressure. Let go of the timelines. Let go of the need to figure everything out. Your mind is not your master. Your soul is. Let the soul lead. Let the faith lead. Let the invisible truths become your compass. And as you do, life will begin to meet you differently. People will sense something in you. A calm, a clarity, a confidence not born from ego, but from essence. And that energy draws miracles. That energy attracts provision. That energy opens doors that no man can shut. Let me tell you a secret. One you may already feel, deep down. The more you trust, the less you chase. The more you believe, the less you beg. The more you align, the more you attract. That's not philosophy. That's frequency. That's not hype. That's law. And when you walk in that law, the invisible becomes your daily reality. So if the outer world feels slow, quiet, or uncertain, do not panic. Celebrate the pause. Celebrate the silence. Because in that pause, your faith is deepening. In that silence, your roots are growing. And it is always the hidden growth that supports the visible harvest. Hold this truth close. You are not stuck. You are being prepared. You are not delayed. You are being positioned. You are not empty. You are being filled in ways you cannot yet see. That is the invisible supply. That is your divine inheritance. And it cannot pass you by. And if ever you forget, come back here. Let this be your loop. Let these words echo in your soul. I am supplied. I am supported. I am sustained. Let this be the connection point. Between the seen and the unseen. Between the fear and the faith. Between the doubt and the knowing. You are not here to suffer. You are not here to scrape by. You are here to radiate, to rise, to remember who you are. The invisible supply is not coming. It's already here. It was never on its way. It was always waiting on your awareness. Not waiting with judgment, but waiting with open arms. The moment you open your heart, open your eyes, and open your hands, it flows, not in trickles but in rivers, not in scarcity but in surplus, not in tension but in peace. So breathe, breathe deeply, let go of the chase, let go of the doubt, let go of the old story that told you are not enough, that you are unworthy, that abundance is for someone else. That story is over. That voice has lost its power. You are writing a new story now, a story rooted in divine law, a story aligned with spiritual truth, a story soaked in abundance, dripping with faith, glowing with certainty. You've done enough begging. You've done enough waiting. You've done enough surviving. This is your chapter of thriving. This is your season of alignment. This is your moment of return. Return to what has always been true, that what is divinely yours cannot miss you. It does not run from you. It is drawn to you. By your belief, by your vibration, by your knowing. So what will you choose today? What will you declare? Not with force but with faith, not with strain but with stillness. Because it is in that stillness that the truth rises. It is in that inner quiet that you hear spirit whisper, you already have it. You already are it. You already hold it. From this point forward, let every step be a step of trust. Let every word be soaked in expectancy. Let every breath remind you that the law is working, even now, even in the silence, even in the waiting, even in what looks like nothing. Everything is unfolding. Declare this now. I am no longer waiting for abundance. I am walking in it. I am no longer begging for provision. I am breathing it. I am no longer hoping for supply. I am held by it. And if a day comes when your faith feels faint, return. Return to the source. Return to these words. Return to the invisible that never stopped loving you, never stopped flowing to you, never stopped holding space for your realization. Let this message be written on the walls of your heart. What is for me is already mine. Let it echo louder than the fear. Let it override the doubt. Let it anchor you through every storm. You are not chasing. You are attracting. You are not forcing. You are flowing. You are not in lack. You are in limitless divine supply. So now, as you stand on this spiritual truth, ask not, how do I get it? But who must I become to receive what is already mine? Who must I be to match the frequency of my own inheritance? Who must I be to live in the full trust of divine order? Be that now. Walk in that now. Claim that now. And as you do, the invisible will become visible. The hidden will be revealed. The supply will take shape, not because you earned it, but because you aligned with it. And that is the final truth. You can't miss what is divinely yours. You only have to claim it.